9.8 meters per second squared is fast. And it's also a little painful. Hi, and welcome to Quilt Meets World, where we have adventures in piecing and joy. I'm Russ, coming into my sewing room. I know a lot of y'all are thinking, why does 9.8 meters per second square sound familiar? But I also know you can't probably place it. Then there's my nerds out here, and they're like, oh, what did he do? See, 9.8 meters per second squared is the gravity constant. Something that you might have learned in, your days in school. It is the acceleration that happens in a vacuum for Earth's gravity. It's the thing that if you've seen those little experiments that says a bowling ball and a feather will fall at same speeds, assuming there's no air to slow things down. In a more practical demonstration, people will show that a bowling ball and a baseball will fall at the same speeds and things like that. Or even better, a bowling ball and an acorn. I was outside with Riley the other day, and fall is falling. I have a couple oak trees in the back, which I'm really thinking about getting rid of because of those darn Joro spiders. But again, we were outside. Riley was doing her business, and while she was going, I'm standing there, and an acorn fell on my little toe. I like to think that, the tree intentionally attacked me, but, whatever. I may have yelled a couple profane words. Yeah. Thankfully, it didn't break skin. And thankfully, it didn't ruin the polish on my toes, but it seriously smarted. So if you have trees that can attack, be careful while you're underneath them. It's not just acorns that'll fall. We have, trees that will lose full limbs or portions of limbs during rainstorms and stuff. So be cautious. And while we're talking about nature, y'all, I thought I was losing my flippin' mind. For about a week or so, when Riley and I would go outside, including the previously mentioned attack I got. As soon as we stepped outside, basically I would hear a honk. And I was like, huh? And it was like just one honk. Sometimes a second would hit a little bit later, but basically it was a honk. And it was like right after we would step outside. I thought somebody had like a weird motion sensor thing or something going on that just happened to be catching some of my air. I don't know. Kids' toys can be weird and stuff like that. So I didn't know if something was lined up to see how long it would take for me to decide that I'm crazy or whatever. But the other day, I finally remembered to send my next door neighbor a message saying, hey, I have this thank you gift that I need to give you for taking care of things while I was on a handful of my trips. Are you home so I can finally deliver it? She was home. And we met each other outside, and I gave her a thank you and everything. And then finally I'm like, okay, am I hearing things, or are y'all harboring a goose? For a little sidebar, they work with some wildlife rescues in the area, and they will go out to help capture things like hawks and ducks and other basically flying creatures and that. And I've talked about them in the past, at least one time when they captured a hawk that I suggested they should name it Tua, but I digress. Apparently, they were involved with a goose. And I guess when they were talking with the rescue team and everything else, I guess it needed to be on some antibiotics or something. And it was easier for the neighbors to keep the goose than a bunch of travel back and forth, something. I don't know, but they basically kept this goose in a little crate or pen or something like that for like a week or something. So I really was hearing a goose, and I felt better knowing that I wasn't losing my flippin' mind. The goose is now gone, which means anytime we go out, I don't hear a honk, and it's a little sadder, but anyway. I think it was like the next day I ended up sending a message to the husband, and I said, next time it'd be a little bit more polite if you let neighbors know when you are harboring fugitive geese. That way they don't get a little bit, crazy or upset trying to figure out what they keep hearing, because it was just that random honk that was happening. It was even, more random than, the smoke detector battery dying and stuff like that, because it's not like it happened all the time. For here in the sewing room, it was a quiet week. I know I said that we would have that extra hour to sew, but yeah, my ADHD kind of gave me a different direction. Basically, all I did this week was work on the start of the mazed pattern with Nantucket Summer fabric that I am working on for a commission for my sister. That was on my 11sies. Basically, all I did for that session was run the pair of strips right sides together, except for that one that I goofed. And just ran it through the machine as we were chit-chatting and had a lot of fun. After the live, I took the set of strips together, brought them upstairs, and I got them pressed to one side so that it'll be easier for me to cut, because that's the next step, is cutting. And that was basically all I did, because it was Saturday. I kind of got a little, tired, and was just like, okay, let me just run around and all that stuff. So I was like, I'm done for the day. On Sunday, after we got that extra hour of sleep, or we would have been able to do that extra hour of sewing, I didn't do sewing. Instead, I kind of went a little computer geeky. I have a home lab here at home where I have a handful of things running that just make a lot of things in my life easier or simpler, or in many cases, cheaper. And in other cases, more expensive and more complicated. But that's besides the point. So I was working on doing a couple minor upgrades to my systems that I've been looking at for a while, and finally decided, now is the time I should be working on this, because who knows? And I ended up spending all day Sunday in a hyper-focused session in here as I was learning some stuff and fighting my way through some configuration files. And I would have been done many hours sooner, except I was fighting with a typo that I just could not see. And it was worse because one of the videos that I was watching explicitly said, make sure you change this. And my mind just wasn't registering that. So it took me a little bit longer. But I did get it working. And that means at some point in the next couple weeks, I have to get the rest of everything around it finished, move over from the old configuration to the new stuff, blah, 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 make Russ happier and all that stuff. So it'll be cool. Obviously, it's not Quilty related, but it is. There's a portion in there, I promise, that is Quilty related that I'm still trying to get set up, and it's just taking me for freaking ever. Anyway, how was your week? Did you have any distractions besides the sports ball game? This coming week is going to be a fun week. First, for my live on Saturday, I will be working on putting together blocks for Mazed. And when I say putting together blocks, I mean putting together the individual blocks, not putting the blocks together into a big quilt. We need to somehow have, better terminology sometimes, I guess, because yeah, it's almost as bad as the whole bi-weekly word, where that could be, twice a week or every other week. Same thing with bi-monthly, twice a month or every other month. Either way, I need to get time this week, and it'll probably be about while this video gets released. If not, it's going to be Friday, to get my fabric cut into the unit sizes that I need to be able to put them into the blocks. So it will be pretty exciting to be able to get everything put together. And then, it'll be done live. So if you want to join me as we work on the blocks, that would be awesome. You could also bring your own projects too. I've heard a couple people say that they bought the pattern so that they can join with. So that's kind of exciting. And then on Sunday, it will be the more fun day. Those of you who are on my mailing list already know this, but I will be hosting another edition of Sewing Shenanigans. For those of you who aren't exactly familiar, and I kind of forgive you, Sewing Shenanigans is a free Zoom event that I host every now and then. Generally about once a month, but I wasn't around for the good weeks last month, so sorry about that. And anyone can join, and we just sit and sew with each other. It is not broadcast on YouTube's. So, those of you who want to keep your face out of other cameras' eyes and stuff, perfectly fine. We do ask that you show your face on the Zoom, just so that we know who you are, and everything is easier to chat with a face than just a blank profile, because if you just have a blank camera and everything, we don't know if you're there or not. And if you are there and we don't know that you're there, yeah, that can be kind of distracting. So we ask that you have your face while you're on the Zoom and everything. But we're not judging your sewing room. We're not judging whether or not you forgot to put on makeup or anything. And we're definitely not judging if you decided to stay in your pajamas all day, because, that's the more fun part of it. I also don't exactly guarantee that we won't enable you, though. I think that's a challenge that some of the folks have, is to see whether or not they can get some people to buy something. And I've been guilty a few times, but I'm trying to stay good, mostly. Anyway, the shenanigans will start about 8:30 a.m. Eastern, and then it'll go through to about 3:30 or so in the afternoon. It is come and go as you please, so you don't have to be here right at 8:30 a.m. Eastern. And you don't have to stay till 3:30 in the afternoon. We have some folks who show up only in the mornings. We have some folks who only show up in the afternoons. We have some folks who only do a little bit in the middle. We have a handful of folks who'll do all day, and those are the awesome ones. But however you do join, you are in for a great time. The link to the Zoom is in the description box below. And the folks who are on my mailing list have the link in their mailboxes already. So I would love to see you then. And did I mention it's free? Anywho, I think that is going to be about it for today. Sharing my weekly shenanigans with you is definitely the highlight each week. I mean, what else am I going to be doing? Go hyper focus on some more computer geek stuff? I can only do that every now and then. It starts to drive me a little crazy. Like, comment, and subscribe if you want to support my channel. That's the easiest way to get YouTube to suggest me to other folks. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day and an awesome week. Until next time, stay happy, and remember, always measure your life in love.